Welcome back to TTC. DeWALT has a new flashlight. This is the DCL 183. It's 1,000 lumens, and we noticed this at Ace Hardware, in fact, while picking up some nuts and bolts. Turns out it's new, and on the spot decided to, heck, let's drive around to each one of the hardware stores, finally, by popular request, buy hardware store options to compare to the Harbor Freight or even the Milwaukee we've bought and tested in the past, and heck, even stopping by Walmart along the way. This new yellow guy is available from a few of these spots, but we tried to buy brands like Husky, Cobalt, Ozark Trail that are sort of associated with that store to see how they compare to this DeWALT, and just all of the hundreds of lights we've bought and tested before. Are dollars spent at these stores wasted, or do they take you further than average? So we're going to find out by testing their light output, candela or distance they throw that light, what that light output looks like over its runtime in our ever popular drop testing. Let's dive in. In order of price, up first we have from Walmart the Ozark Trail 2500 lumen rechargeable flashlight. This looked to be their highest spec rechargeable option, and it's only 20 bucks. Nice. It is USB-C rechargeable like every light is today, and that's always good. It has all of these LED chips out front, like in a radial array, which isn't the common route, but it's pretty cool, though it can't focus adjust, I think, as a result of that. It mentions the lithium battery several times in the feature, but never a size, which isn't always a good sign. We'll have to find out coming up. One way you won't find out, though, is taking that cell out. It's fixed into place for some reason, like it could have come out, but they designed it not to, into that we get a charging rate of 1 amp, which is sort of standard, maybe on the poor side of things. Nothing flashy, but also, I mean, come on, it's 20 bucks. It's flashy enough to be a flashlight. Let's see how it does. The 2500 lumen Walmart Ozark starts out at about 2050 lumens. By 30 seconds is at 2013 lumens, but oddly, right after that 30-second mark, it starts climbing like no other light we've seen, up to 2200, 2300, then slowly falls down from there again. You could say it's warming up, but that's not usually the case and not standard for how these are often measured. When you turn it on, you're not getting that like 2300 lumens, you're getting 2000, then later a mixture of those two things. We're going to give this a rare average output rating here to at least try and give it an honest go of about 2140 lumens. No matter how you look at it, it's not 2500 as we see it. For candela, or how far this flashlight reaches out, we measure about 2500 candela. Maybe that's where they get that 2500 from. It is a non-beam focusing flashlight. That's about 100 meters worth of throw. Let's see if the rest of these stores can do any better. This is the Husky from Home Depot, and the closest they had on the rack that compared to that last one, and this next one coming up, was this size. She's chunky, but also about 3000 lumens, so let's see what she can do. This was 40 bucks and does have focus adjust to try and get some more distance out of it. The twist cover to access the charging and power bank function is sort of too easy to access. You'll sometimes find it halfway open by itself. And inside you'll find an odd sarcophagus of a battery shell looking thing. You can charge it outside the light, though not sure that's much benefit as it's made using a proprietary like plastic coffin with a battery inside it. You can have all the same functions this light has using a standard 21700 or 26650 cell inside instead of having to do this whole design. So it seems like just extra costs and steps to be less useful to the average person. And that cell, whatever it is, we're going to crack it open later and find out for science. It also charges at the slowest on the day, 0.75 amps, 750 milliamps. Not great, quite bad for this size of a light. It is bright though. It has a turbo mode if you hold down the power button, and that blasts things up to 4000 lumens, but it does so temporarily. They designed it to fall off exactly right after the ANSI F1 standard. In high mode, which is what the packaging on this advertises, 3000 lumens, we got some odd ones today, as like the Ozark Trail starts low, 2500 or so, this one also climbs up to 3400s and then falls back down to the 2500s. We're going to call this light basically even. It sort of does what it says it's going to do, and it skirts right on that FL1 standard line. It's rarely ever going to be on the lumen level it's advertising, but it does fall on it or float around it. So roughly speaking, it does what it says it can do, and that's not bad. Also not bad is candela. With this one's focus adjust, the turbo mode means we're able to see right around 12,300 candela at its peak, which is good enough for 220 meters and the best so far. All right, next up in price and heading over to Lowe's for a $3 increase over that Husky is this Cobalt 3000 lumen flashlight that is a bit smaller, but with similar spec. And while it looks a lot also like that Ozark, it's got a different LED. Instead of a gaggle of them, it uses a single high power chip. But even the tail cap covers and the rubber charge port cover are interchangeable with the Ozark at the same time, except the Cobalt has a removable, more traditional looking cell type. It's rated at 4,000 milliamp hours. It's a 21700 style, though a little bit longer for it due to this charge in and power out sort of design. So since both the positive and negative are on this end, it has a similar effect as the other lights, except this does charge at around 2 amps, more than twice of what these previous ones have, including that Harbor Freight. It can focus adjust due to this single center chip style, and for that 3000 lumens, well, it's not going to be playing around. 3400 plus out the gate, and this one is the first to be able to hold steady around that figure down to, by the 30-second mark, 3270 above its claims and didn't fall off either after that. It's pretty good stuff here. It's also, due to having that focus adjust, able to rack up the most candela so far as well, around 19,300 or 277 meters of distance from this. This is going to look like 109% of advertised, and it does look all of those 3200 lumens in person. It is hard to look in this one's direction from something this size. Okay, and the most expensive model we bought today, we bought from Ace first for $79, though you can also find it from other stores, even Amazon for 79 bucks. It's DeWalt's new flashlight, the DCL 183, and it's bringing just 1,000 lumens to the table. Yes, this isn't exactly trying to replace the others we bought in the specs, but we wanted to see how much your money could get you instead of buying one of these. This is more like an EDC style flashlight, though a bit too big for your pockets, and more like a job site flashlight, which I think is maybe more towards DeWalt's type of products. Now, realistically, I'd say this is trying to take on the past Milwaukee 2160 that we've bought previously for 70 bucks, as their newest 2162 is about $100 and 2000 lumens. Frankly, this is just entirely subjective, of course, so feel free to ignore this if you're the data-driven type. I really like it, more than I thought I would. It feels like a solid chunk of aluminum where it has like a 3/8 wall thickness for no good reason. It's chunky, it's solid, it has this steel folding hook, a decent powerful base magnet. This front LED is diffused a bit via the lens, a bit lower Kelvin color temperature compared to the others today, and it has this side area work light, which for something that has this magnet makes sense. If where you stick it doesn't end up pointing where you want it to, you have some side lighting. We'll add that Milwaukee onto the ranking later to compare, but it's not, to be fair, going to impress in today's crowd in the stats. Maybe drop test later, we'll see, but for lumens, it's making 1,080. That becomes, after 30 seconds, 1,055. It holds steady and doesn't really go anywhere. And about 7,900 candela, that's 177 meters, far from the worst if you want something that throws in this group, and 106% of advertised on lumens. This does charge fast, or it can charge fast up to 2.5 amps, though that does taper. Make sure you use the included cable and a quick charge wall adapter with a high amperage rating, which can result in as low as a sub 1.5 hour charge. The Ozark, on the other hand, 3.5 hours, though that's also still below the 5-hour charging Braun. And the Husky, I mean, that makes that Braun look quick. 8 hours. Yeah, one of the worst on record. We have maybe only one flashlight this battery size range that's ever charged slower than this. 750 milliamps peak. Spends most of its time charging this large guy at 0.5 amp. For reference, that'd be like taking 5 to 6 hours to charge your cell phone at this type of rate. The Cobalt is on the other end of things, just 2 hours to charge this guy. Let's see what those batteries can offer. We test runtime in high and see how long they last while looking at their light output during that. To the Husky's credit, by the 10-minute mark, it's still at 1,600 lumens or so, which few flashlights ever are. They all drop a lot. The Walmart Ozark is going to drop to the lowest out of our new purchases and hover around the 300 lumen mark, not all that long, dying first at just over 2 hours. The Husky, living in the 5 to 600s, is going to follow suit thereafter, not quite hitting the 2.5 hour mark. The DeWALT, as it is in many other ways, is solid also here. It stays at exactly 440 lumens until this light is nearly at 3 hours and then just turns off. The Milwaukee version of this sort of thing behaves very similarly. In fact, wired for constant current, no dimming. It is a nice thing to have. The Cobalt ends up lasting the longest overall, hanging out around where that DeWALT was, then tapering below it towards the end, just about 4 hours. One way we like to summarize what you just saw is lumen minutes, essentially a total of all of our measurement intervals added together for a comparable light output figure. That's 3,700 for the Braun, 4,170 for the Ozark, 8,000 for the Husky, 7,700 for Cobalt, and 5,000 for the DeWALT. So these three put out the most light throughout a charge, and this did so without a very large battery either. These are our findings after measuring all that: 2,600 milliamp hours, 5,000, 4,000, and 2,600 milliamp hours. Again, the Braun definitely giving you the least here. It's the cheapest sort of 18,650 you're going to find here. In the DeWALT and Cobalt both seemingly put out a decent amount for their battery size. And the Husky, yeah, we were able to confirm by carving this thing open. It is a simple 26,650 cell inside, marked 5,000 milliamp hours, so that matches what we saw. And within that, you're going to find the in and out charging circuitry wired into this capsule thing. You can achieve this within the light's own board and circuitry, like most lights today, so no real reason this can't be a common cell instead of the Husky case thing going on. It would make the light itself a much more manageable size if they just used a simple 26,650 or 21,700. One thing you might think you'd get with a name brand over a light from the hardware store would be durability. We find that's not really true, or even sort of turned on its head today versus the average. As drop testing these 3 times each from increasing heights, we find all of these do quite well. Both the Cobalt and Ozark perform about the same, which looking back probably isn't a surprise, as they're likely made in the same factory, so being similar, having interchangeable bits, they both get 1 to 2 drops from 18 feet before dying. Quite good, 8 out of 10. The heaviest light, the Husky, and the lightest light here, the DeWALT, are another matter. These both came out swinging 6, 8, 12 foot, 18 foot, 20 foot drops, 3 apiece, no problems. Even continued drops from there. They both graduated to the activity we take no pleasure in, but just got to get that data somehow. Spiking them on the ground, each of them, they took many spikes before they would give up the ghost. The DeWALT even eventually, when it did get there and just no longer started turning on, left more marks on the concrete here than it seemingly did on the flashlight. There are a precious few couple lights that have made it through this spiking on the ground for several minutes and still work to this day. Those get 10, so in this case, these both earn 9.5 out of 10, very robust lights, as it turns out. With the overview here, the light that sort of stands out the most is the Cobalt. We like this thing from the get-go, and it never really disappointed along the way. Most lumens out of any of these that it can sustain for over 30 seconds, over a minute. Most overperforming compared to its specs, one of the fastest charging, nearly the largest battery size, and the most efficient, and that battery can be removed. It ran the longest as well, with a good couple points higher than average durability. The Husky, it's nearly there, it's just too much charge time, is too much battery chunk, and too much size overall as a result of that battery. The new DeWALT has to be our other pick then, and here adding the closest in spec Milwaukee that we've bought from many. These are also tanks, and I think this is what DeWALT was probably targeting for a light when you look at the stable light output over time, the fast charging, similar runtime. Overall, I think that the Milwaukee would have more features with their TrueView light output and battery type, but we almost forgot this side light work light, which we tested before spiking it on the ground and did get 300 lumens, which they don't advertise. That, along with the magnet and this amount of total light output being noticeably higher, well, I think you'll need to spend 90 to 100 bucks to beat this with the Milwaukee, and each of us like this solid block of a unit. Grease, dust, sawdust doesn't stick to it. It's pretty cool. That's how we see it, at least. Let us know some of your favorite hardware store finds below, and thanks for watching.